What's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a video on blue staples that you can run in Commander. This is part 3. I will list part 1 and part 2 in the down bar below. I really enjoy filming these videos. My whole idea and my thought process behind these are cards that you can run in pretty much like all Commander decks, and these are good cards like to have on hand as staples. Paul and I have a box, for example, where we keep a bunch of Commander staples where we're like, oh, we're not running this card right now, but if we build a Commander deck with this color, you know, we might play this card. So we have that, and these are cards that you could do that belong in a variety of different things. I only talk about 10 cards per video, just to keep it on the shorter side, but yeah, let's just jump into it. Starting off with Glennalandra Archmage. There we go. Words are hard. Okay, she is a really cool fairy. So she is a 4-mana 2/2 with flying. You can sack her to counter target non-creature spell. You're going to be hitting a ton of different things with this, and she's got Persist. My personal favorite build and way to play this is a way that you can capitalize off of this. So having it so where you can bounce her with the sort of thing, and blue does that pretty well. But even if you are not building it in that sort of shell, I think that Glennalandra is a really, really cool card. And yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, the next card is one of my personal favorites, and that is Curse of the Swine. I love this card. This card is one of like my personal favorite things because you're like, I love these type of like exile sort of effects in blue. Yeah, you give them 2/2s, but honestly, do you really care a whole lot? Because whatever you're doing, you're exiling, you can definitely is less threatening. You're giving them a 2/2, which is less threatening than whatever it is that you're choosing to exile. What I also really love about Curse of the Swine is it's X and 2, so you're able to do as many or as little things as you want or need to do. I really love Curse of the Swine. Yeah, it's a great card. Great card. Okay, the next card is Rite of Replication. This card is awesome. So basically, it's got Kicker, which you're going to want to kick this card. You know, if you're going to go for it, like, you got to go for it, you know? And this says Zelda's head is, like, directly in my line of sight where I'm supposed to read the card. Come on, come on. It says put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of it. If it was kicked, put 5 of those tokens instead. Now, you got to be a little careful with this. You can't be going off, like, Rite of Replication your commander or something like that. But you're able to do this. You're able to do this and do, you know, 5 of your things, which is really, really cool. Yeah, it's a great card. Okay. Another one of my favorites is Archaeomancer. Archaeomancer is really cool. Basically, it's a 4-mana 1/2. It enters the battlefield. You can bounce an instant or a sorcery from your graveyard to your hand, which is really cool. There's not really a whole lot to say. It's a really, really good card. It's also really affordable, too. I really enjoy Archaeomancer. I have this card in, like, a bunch of my blue decks because I have a lot of instants and sorceries, and it's a really cool thing. And then you're yourself with the chump blocker. So, there you go. Okay. Factor Fiction. I love Factor Fiction so much that I had it in Tasigur, decided to take it out, put it back in Tasigur. That's how much I love this card. I love this card so much. I actually need to double check to see if sometimes I do this thing where I like mentally think it. I'm like, oh yeah, put that card in there. And then I don't know if I actually put it in there or not. So I have to add this to, I'll put this to the side to see if I actually did or not. But I'm going to put it back in Tasigur if I haven't already. Factor Fiction is awesome. It's 4 mana, instant speed. You reveal the top 5, and opponent separates them into those piles, and you get to decide which one goes to your hand and which one the other goes to the graveyard, right? Yeah, which is really cool. So if you're doing things where you care about graveyard things, you know, that's really cool. I love Factor Fiction. The really cool thing about Factor Fiction too is it really puts your opponents on, like, the spotlights on them to be like, hey, you need to figure this out. You need to separate these piles in a really strategic way. Sometimes it can be extremely hard when someone Factor Fictions you and you have to decide how to put those piles in the most efficient way possible where it's hurting your opponents the least, because you don't want it to be like, you know, those 3 and 2 and then those 2 cards are just really, really cool. You want to separate them and balance them out as best as possible. Sometimes as a player, like, it's just the obvious choice. It's just whatever it is, you can do 4 and 1 and I'm going to take that 1 because that's what I need at this time, right? It just totally depends, but I love Factor Fiction. It's so fun. Okay, the next card is Force of Will, which is a very popular common counter spell that you will see. It's basically like a free counter spell in the sense where you can pay a life and you remove a blue card to basically cast this for free to counter something. I don't think you need to go out and run and buy a Force of Will if you're just a casual commander player. I just want to say that right now. It's very expensive. But if you're looking to just get a really powerful counter spell, I think that Force of Will is a really, really great option for you, because it's just free. Like, come on, that's so incredibly cool. I mean, it's a downside you pay a life, you don't care, and then you exile a blue card, you're like, cool, I just literally don't care. So I can exile and just counter something. It's great. Imprisoned in the Moon is one of my personal favorite cards because you put this on someone's commander and then they can't play with their commander unless they get rid of these Imprisoned in the Moon. But if you're not targeting someone's commander, which is probably the most, like, that's probably what you are going to do, you can do this to any creature. You can also do this to lands, and you can also do this to planeswalkers if that's, you know, super great. And then they, if that's like the best thing that they have on the board or whatever, and then you do that and then they tap it for a colorless land, you don't care because you've exiled their thing for 3 mana and they can't bring it back until they get rid of the Imprisoned in the Moon. This card is awesome. It's also just really fun to be like, you have a colorless land now. It's just, there's nothing quite like that. It's very enjoyable. Okay, the next card is Search for Azcanta, and it's so funny because this card brings me back to my Modern days, because this was when, like, I don't know if people are still playing this card in Modern, but this was when everybody was playing this card in Modern, and, like, it was like Search for Azcanta was the best or whatever. It's a little bit more pricey. I don't think, again, similar to how I feel about Force of Will, if you don't want to go out and spend this money on this card, you don't have to. But again, if you're here to look for a staple and you're looking for something that you could run in a variety of decks, I think this card is good. It's 2 mana, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card. You can put it into your graveyard, which is really cool. If you're like, I'm flooded with lands, put that in your thing. Then if you have 7 or more, it flips. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I do think that Search best belongs in a not super creature-heavy shell. For example, I wouldn't necessarily run this card in Tasigur, even if on the flip side you can put it in your graveyard, because I have a lot of creatures in that deck and I, want that sort of thing. Or you can just tap for a land if you need that. But yeah, Search for Azcanta is a good card. Okay. Next, we have Temporal Mastery, because who doesn't love taking extra turns? It's like one of the best things to do. So it is 7 mana. You could take an extra turn, you exile it, but if you do get that miracle, you can literally cast it for 2. I feel like this would be really cool if you have a lot of ways of manipulating cards that are on the top of your library. So for example, if you're going to brainstorm or something like that, and then you can put this back so that you can do that. But yeah, this card is good. 2 mana to take an extra turn seems good. I'm actually shocked that I didn't talk about Treasure Cruise in my first or second part, because I love Treasure Cruise. Getting to delve away cards that I don't need in my graveyard and getting to draw 3 cards for 1 mana is really, really powerful. I have Treasure Cruise in a lot of my different commander decks, and I absolutely love it. Even if I'm not playing a Graveyard Recursion deck, I still love Treasure Cruise. It's a great card. Like I said, even if you're not doing graveyard stuff or whatever, if you're playing with a lot of like fetches, even not like a fetch land, but a card like Fabled Passage or Evolving Wilds or things like that, delving those away or whatever, delving away cards that you don't need so that you can draw 3 cards for 3 mana. Drawing 3 cards for 1 mana is very, very powerful. So yeah, guys, that is everything for talking about 10 more additional blue staples. I'd really love to know what is one of your favorite staples, and maybe it'll be featured in a future part. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.